Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most intriguing and surprisingly valuable modern-era American coins ever produced, the 1968 Washington quarter. Now, at first glance, this coin may look like something you could casually receive in your daily pocket change. But what if I told you that some specific examples of this very coin have sold for life-changing amounts of money? Yes, you heard that right, life-changing. So get comfortable, because in this video we're going to explore the history, production, hidden errors, and high-value varieties of the 1968 Washington quarter. And by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for in your own pocket change or coin collection. You may even discover that an ordinary-looking quarter could be worth far more than 25 cents. Opening narrative: how a common coin became uncommonly valuable. Picture this. The year is 1968. The United States is undergoing major historic changes: civil rights struggles, the Vietnam War, technological advancements, and shifting cultural landscapes. In the middle of all this, millions of Washington quarters were being minted. They were everyday tools of commerce, sliding across diner counters, jingling in payphone slots, or resting in the glove compartments of American cars. Most people never gave them a second thought. After all, quarters were just quarters, but time has a way of transforming the ordinary into something extraordinary. And for collectors today, the 1968 Washington quarter, especially those with key mint marks and special striking qualities, has become a treasure hiding in plain sight. A closer look at the 1968 quarter, not silver, but still special. Let's get one important detail out of the way before anything else. Unlike earlier Washington quarters, the 1968 version is not made of silver. Beginning in 1965, the U.S. Mint transitioned to a copper-nickel clad composition, which includes an outer layer of copper-nickel bonded to a core of pure copper. So, if the 1968 quarter isn't silver, why is it valuable? Well, rarity and demand in the numismatic world aren't always tied to precious metals. They can often stem from limited production run, striking quality, unusual errors, minting inconsistency, special collector grades, and unexpected survival rates. These factors together set the stage for some 1968 quarters to command astonishing prices on the collector's market. Mint marks that matter. Understanding where a coin was born. One of the most important things to examine on a 1968 Washington quarter is its mint mark. In 1968, 3 different U.S. mint facilities produced these coins: Philadelphia, No mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; San Francisco, S mint mark. Each of these mints created different varieties of 1968 quarters, but the San Francisco mint stands out, especially because of the proof coins that were produced there. These proof coins, struck using polished dies and specially prepared planchets, were made specifically for collectors. Among these proof coins lie some of the greatest treasures of the series, hidden errors and rare surprises. As with many coins from the late 1960s, the 1968 Washington quarter has a number of notable error varieties. These minting mistakes can significantly increase a coin's value, and collectors go absolutely wild for them. Some of the most desirable errors include double die errors. These occur when the coin's design is struck twice, but not perfectly aligned. This can create doubling effects on the lettering, numbers, or even Washington's profile. A sharp double die example can transform a common quarter into a high-demand collectible. Off-center strikes: if a coin is not positioned correctly between the dies during striking, part of the design is missing, creating a dramatic and collectible appearance. The more off-center the strike, while still showing the date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Clipped planchets: these errors occur when the metal blank is incorrectly cut, resulting in curved, missing sections of the coin's rim. Proof errors: considered extremely rare because proof coins are meant to undergo meticulous inspection. Any mistake on a 1968 proof quarter is a highly prized find. Condition is everything. Why grading changes value? Now let's talk about the factor that creates the biggest difference between a quarter worth 25 cents and one worth thousands. Grading. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins using a numeric scale from 1 to 70. Higher numbers mean better preservation, sharper details, and fewer imperfections. A 1968 quarter in poor condition might only fetch a small premium. But a 1968 quarter in near-perfect condition, especially one with a strong strike, flawless surfaces, and deep cameo contrast, could be worth an extraordinary amount of money. why the 1968 proof quarter is the star of the show among all the 1968 varieties. The San Francisco struck proof quarters are the ones that have stunned the collecting world. While many of these proof coins are common, only a very small number exhibit the rare, deep cameo, or ultra cameo, frosting. Paired with immaculate surfaces, this special finish presents a striking contrast. Frosted raised design set against mirror-like fields. When these rare proof quarters are found in near-perfect condition, they become some of the most sought-after modern proof coins in United States history. And this brings us to one of the most jaw-dropping discoveries in recent years. A legend is born. The auction shockwave not long ago, a pristine, flawlessly preserved 1968 proof quarter with an exceptional cameo finish appeared at a major coin auction. Graded at an elite level and displaying nearly perfect craftsmanship, this specimen sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. Collectors knew it was rare, they knew it was special, but no one expected the final hammer price to soar as high as it did. The bids kept rising, higher and higher, until the coin finally sold for a truly unbelievable amount. A single Washington quarter, struck in 1968, clad in copper nickel, worth only 25 cents when produced, became one of the most valuable modern quarters ever sold, and its final price. We'll reveal that in a moment. How to tell if you have a high-value 1968 quarter. Before we reveal that record-breaking price, let's go over what you should look for if you think you might have a rare example of this coin. Step 1. Check the mint mark. Look just to the right of Washington's hair ribbon. S indicates San Francisco proof. D indicates Denver. No mint mark means Philadelphia. Step 2. Examine the fields and devices. If your quarter has a reflective, mirror-like finish with frosted designs, it may be a cameo or deep cameo proof. Step 3. Look for errors. Use a magnifying glass or digital microscope to spot doubling, off-center striking, or clipped edges. Step 4. Check for where even small scratches can drop the grade significantly. Handle the coin carefully by the edges. Step 5. Consider professional grading. A certified grade can drastically increase a coin's value and make it more desirable to collectors. The grand reveal, the price that shocked collectors everywhere. Now for the moment you've been waiting for, the extraordinary value reached by one of these incredible 1968 Washington quarters. A deep cameo proof example, graded at one of the highest levels ever seen for this date, stunned the collecting world by selling for an astonishing price of $54,260. That's right. A simple 25-cent coin, often overlooked and forgotten, became worth more than some new cars, college tuition payments, or even a down payment on a home. Closing thoughts. Could you have one? The story of the 1968 Washington quarter dollar reminds us that hidden treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places. Whether in an old jar of coins in your attic, a passed-down family collection, or even pocket change from a random purchase, you might just stumble upon a numismatic gem waiting to be recognized. Journey takes us deep into the world of the 1978 United States Mint mark Washington quarter dollar, a coin you may have walked past, spent without thinking, or tossed into a jar. But behind its simple copper-nickel face lies a history, a mystery, and for the sharp-eyed collector, a potential jackpot. Now, what makes a simple Washington quarter from 1978 stand out? On the surface, it looks like any ordinary piece of pocket change. It has the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan, and the bold eagle perched on a bundle of arrows on the reverse. Millions upon millions were minted that year, so just hearing the date doesn't suggest rarity. But numismatics, the art and science of collecting coins, has one unbreakable rule: it's not always the common coin itself, but the small details surrounding it that unlock its true value. As we dive deeper, the year 1978 stands at the tail end of a fascinating era in American coin production. The mint was preparing for the introduction of the Susan B. Anthony dollar the following year. Changes were underway in design philosophy, minting machinery, and die preparation techniques. These changes created an environment where certain die varieties, mint mark styles, strike anomalies, and scarce high-grade survivors began to appear. For collectors, those subtle differences are exactly where treasure lives. So before we talk about the massive auction result this particular year has produced, let's understand the foundation. In 1978, Washington quarters were struck at multiple U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, which used no mint mark at the time, and Denver, which marked its coins with a clear, stamped D mint mark. Most people don't realize how significant that tiny letter can be. A mint mark isn't just an indicator, it's a fingerprint. It reveals where the coin began its life, and each mint has its own story for that year, its own production challenges, its own quirks that create variations that might appear in just a handful of coins. The Denver Mint, in particular, experienced slight differences in strike quality in the late 1970s. Many coins from that era show minor weakness in certain details: Washington's hair, the feathers of the eagle, and the lettering around the rim. Collectors who understand these nuances know that a fully struck, exceptionally sharp 1978 Denver quarter is far from common. That rarity becomes even more pronounced when a coin survives decades without ever entering circulation. Most coins are tossed in pockets, dropped in vending machines, scraped together in spare change cups. A coin that evades all that wear is a coin that defies probability, and probability, as it turns out, is a major force in coin valuation. When a collector or grading service finds a 1978 mint mark Washington quarter that has no scratches, no dullness, no signs of use, sharp full details, and nearly flawless surfaces, it becomes an elite survivor. When it pushes the absolute upper boundary of condition, what collectors call a top population coin, it becomes something even more special, a once-in-a-generation example. This is where the value skyrockets. Elite collectors aren't just buying metal. They're buying perfection, scarcity, and the bragging rights of owning the finest known example of its kind. And in recent years, the market for high-grade modern coins has exploded. What used to be seen as ordinary pocket change has transformed into a realm of hidden gems commanding jaw-dropping prices at auction. Imagine someone with a jar of old change sitting on top of a dresser for years, unaware of the treasure resting inside. Among ordinary pennies and nickels, buried beneath everyday clutter, could be a 1978 Washington quarter struck at Denver with exceptional precision, saved by accident and preserved by luck. Suddenly, a simple household item becomes the centerpiece of a bidding war. But why do collectors chase these coins so aggressively? The answer lies in the combination of history, nostalgia, and rarity. The Washington quarter is one of the most recognizable pieces of American currency. Nearly everyone has touched one. It carries memories of childhood arcade games, parking meters, gum machines, school lunches, and road trips. There's something magical about taking a coin that everyone has seen and discovering that one variation is nearly priceless. Collectors love stories. They love the idea that a forgotten pocket coin can become an artifact of exceptional worth. And when the grading services, the gatekeepers of quality, certify that a particular coin is among the purest examples ever found, it transforms that coin into something mythic. This is precisely what happened with the high-grade 1978 Washington quarter that took the numismatic world by surprise. Under specialized lighting and magnification, graders discovered a level of detail and quality on the coin that was simply unheard of for its year. Every feather, every letter, every tiny ridge was struck cleanly. The surfaces gleamed with almost untouched luster. It wasn't just nice. It was extraordinary. Collectors knew immediately this wasn't just another quarter. This was a rare event, the sort of discovery that makes headlines, and headlines it did make, because when the bidding opened at auction, collectors weren't shy. They recognized the rarity. They recognized the chance to own something that may never appear again. They pushed the bids higher, then higher still. What started as curiosity turned into competition. What turned into competition exploded into a numismatic showdown. This remarkable 1978 mint mark Washington quarter didn't just sell well. It soared. It shattered expectations. And it stunned casual observers who assumed that modern coins could never reach the heights of earlier silver or gold pieces. But that is the unpredictable beauty of coin collecting. Rarity isn't always old. Rarity isn't always silver. Rarity isn't always tied to a dramatic historical event. Sometimes it's simply the right coin, from the right year, in the right condition, discovered at the right moment, by someone sharp enough to recognize it. The 1978 quarter became a symbol, proof that treasures still exist today, that you don't have to search only through 19th century coins or colonial pieces to find value. You can find it in modern pockets, in change trays, in inherited jars of coins, and in the unexpected corners of everyday life. Now imagine this: you might be one discovery away from your own numismatic breakthrough. The next time you see a quarter dated 1978, especially one minted in Denver, take a good look. Study its surfaces. Look at the sharpness of Washington's profile, the clarity of the lettering, the crispness of the eagle's feathers. If it looks unusually pristine, it may be worth sending to a grading service. After all, history has proven more than once that exceptional examples of ordinary coins can turn into extraordinary finds. Collectors around the world now treat the 1978 Washington quarter with a new sense of respect. A once overlooked modern coin has become a star, inspiring treasure hunters to take a second look at their own collections. Even novice collectors have begun digging through change, hoping to find a survivor from that year with the same remarkable qualities as the one that made headlines. Coins are more than metal. They are time capsules of American history. They travel through countless hands and countless stories, but every now and then, one escapes into near-perfect preservation. And when that happens, its value becomes more than monetary, it becomes legendary. Journey takes us deep into the world of United States coinage, specifically, one coin that many people overlook every single day, the 1986 Washington quarter struck at the Philadelphia Mint, proudly carrying the simple but significant P Mint mark. While at first glance it may look like just another quarter tossed into a jar or left forgotten in a car cup holder, the 1986 P quarter has a surprising place in the world of coin collecting. And for one extraordinary example, its value reached a jaw-dropping amount that you will hear about at the end of today's video. So buckle in, settle down, and prepare to explore a fascinating blend of history, minting details, rarity, and the thrilling world of numismatic value. The Washington quarter has been a piece of America's daily life since 1932, introduced to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. For decades it remained nearly the same, Washington's dignified profile on the front, and an eagle with wings spread proudly across the reverse. In 1986, the series was still using this classic design, and millions of quarters flowed from the minting presses of Philadelphia. That year's coin might seem common, and in most cases it is, but hidden among those millions is a type of quarter that stands out for quality, striking precision, and condition so exceptional it occupies a category all its own. To understand why a 1986 P quarter could ever reach a massive price, we need to step into the world of coin grading. Coins are judged not just on age, but on their appearance, sharpness, shine, detail, and absence of scratches. A quarter that's been in circulation has bumps, wear, and marks from years of use, but a quarter that remained pristine right from the mint is a different story altogether. When collectors send coins to professional grading services, such as PCGS or NGC, they hope their coin receives a high grade on the 70-point scale. A grade of mint state 60 means the coin is uncirculated, but has many small marks. Mint state 65 is much better, sharper, cleaner, more eye-appealing. But mint state 67, mint state 68, or even higher, those coins are elite. They are so few and far between that collectors can go decades without seeing one. That's where the magic of the 1986 P quarter begins. While millions were minted, very few survived in near-perfect condition. Most quarters struck in the mid-1980s were not saved in rolls or special sets. They were simply spent, tossed into registers, exchanged for groceries and gas. Finding one in high-grade condition is incredibly rare. And as any collector knows, rarity is the spark that ignites value. Now, think about a coin fresh from the mint, one with crisp details on George Washington's hair, a bold eagle on the reverse, flawless luster sweeping across its surface, and no sign of fingerprints, scratches, or nicks. That's the type of quarter that can send collectors into a bidding frenzy. They study every curve of the design under bright lights and magnification, hunting for perfection. When they find it, they know they're looking at a survivor from a year when not many survivors exist. What makes the Philadelphia Mint quarters interesting is that the mint was producing enormous quantities at the time. The minting process was fast, efficient, and high volume, great for getting coins into circulation, but not ideal for producing perfectly struck coins. Dies wore down quickly, surfaces picked up marks, and quality control focused more on quantity than flawless minting. This makes exceptional examples of the 1986 P-quarter extremely difficult to find. And the harder something is to find, the more collectors are willing to pay. Imagine a coin that spent decades tucked away unnoticed, maybe sealed in an original mint bag or hidden in the back of a drawer, untouched by human hands. When discovered, it travels to a grading service where experts examine it under magnification. They note its brilliance, its lack of wear, the sharpness of Washington's facial features and the eagle's feathers. Then they assign a grade that places it in the top tiny fraction of all existing 1986 P-quarters. That grade is the key that unlocks the astonishing value we're talking about today, but it isn't just grade that drives excitement. Collectors also love coins with strong eye appeal, a term referring to the overall attractiveness of a coin. Eye appeal includes the coin's shine, natural toning, and the way light dances across its surface. A high-grade coin with superior eye appeal becomes even more desirable. Combine that with rarity, and the result is a coin capable of achieving prices that seem impossible for something worth 25 cents at face value. To appreciate why the 1986 P-quarter stands out, it helps to look at the broader collecting world. Many people assume only old coins, those from the 1800s or early 1900s, sell for high amounts. But modern coins can absolutely command huge prices when they are rare in high-grade condition. Collectors who specialize in Washington quarters actively search for top-tier examples from every year and every mint. Completing a full set of these coins, especially in the highest possible grades, becomes incredibly challenging, and the few available coins command premium prices in auctions. Part of what makes this hobby so thrilling is the possibility that a rare treasure is hiding in plain sight. Anyone watching this video could have a high-grade quarter sitting unnoticed in a coin jar or collection. That dream, the dream of discovering a coin worth thousands, keeps collectors searching. It keeps the hobby alive and full of excitement. With that in mind, let's walk through what makes a potentially valuable 1986 P-quarter stand out. First, look for a coin with no signs of wear. The highest value pieces are uncirculated, meaning they were never used in everyday spending. Second, examine the details. Are Washington's hair strands clean and sharp? Are the eagle's wings crisp with visible feathers? Third, observe the surface. A valuable specimen will have minimal marks or scratches. The shine, or luster, should flow smoothly when you tilt the coin under light. Finally, keep in mind that even a coin that looks nearly perfect to the naked eye might show flaws under magnification. That's why grading services play such an important role. They confirm a coin's true condition. Now imagine the excitement when a coin grader opens a sealed package and finds not just a high-quality coin, but one that surpasses nearly every other 1986 P-quarter known. A coin like that doesn't just attract collectors, it makes headlines in the numismatic world. Auction houses compete for the chance to offer it. Collectors prepare their bidding strategies. And when the auction begins, the price climbs higher and higher as individuals chase the chance to own something both rare and beautiful. This is where our story reaches its most thrilling moment. Among all the 1986 P Washington quarters ever graded, one extraordinary piece set itself apart, achieving a condition so exceptional that it shattered expectations. It sold at auction for a sum that seems unbelievable for a quarter minted in the 1980s. But that is the magic of coin collecting, the unexpected treasure, the hidden gem, the fantastic story behind an ordinary object that becomes extraordinary. Throughout history, coins have connected people to moments in time. They carry stories of the past, reminders of the hands they touched, the pockets they traveled through, and the nation that produced them. The Washington quarter is one of America's most familiar designs, yet within its millions of examples lies a tiny number of masterpieces, coins that rise far above their humble origins. And among them, the 1986 P quarter stands tall as one of the most striking surprises in modern numismatics. So as you watch this video, consider the coins around you. The change in your pocket might seem unremarkable, but there is always a chance that something extraordinary is waiting to be discovered. That is the thrill of collecting. That is the adventure of numismatics. And that is why people continue to search, learn, collect, and treasure these small pieces of history. The story of the 1988 P Mint Mark Washington quarter is far more fascinating than most people realize. At first glance, it looks like just another modern circulating coin, something you might accidentally drop into a vending machine without a second thought. But behind its simple face is a surprising legacy, a set of odd circumstances, and a staggering value point that has captured collectors' attention around the world. This is not just a coin, it is a reminder that even the most ordinary day-to-day objects can explode in value under the right conditions. Today, we'll dive deep into the journey of the 1988 P Washington quarter, a coin produced during a time of economic growth, expanding mint technology, and increasing interest in modern numismatics. So settle in, because this is a treasure story few people know, and fewer still believe. To understand the significance of the 1988 quarter, we first need to look back at the broader era of American coin production during the late 20th century. The 1980s were a transitional period for U.S. coinage. By then, the mint had already shifted from the old silver-based coins of earlier decades to the modern copper-nickel-clad composition. The Washington quarter, introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, had seen numerous design refinements and production changes. But by 1988, the quarter's design was stable, familiar, and deeply embedded in American pockets and cash registers. Yet, even in a year where billions of coins were produced, there was something special about certain examples of the 1988 P quarter, something that would set them apart decades later. The P Mint mark stands for Philadelphia, the historic birthplace of the U.S. Mint and one of America's most important minting facilities. Philadelphia produced a huge quantity of quarters that year, meaning that most examples are common and hold only face value. But the magic of coin collecting is that rarity isn't always about how many were made. Sometimes it comes down to condition, unusual minting qualities, eye appeal, or errors that slipped into circulation unintentionally. With quarters from the 1980s, most people simply spent them, stacked them, dropped them in jars, or tossed them in drawers. Very few were saved in pristine condition. That is one of the biggest reasons certain examples from 1988 are now surprisingly valuable, especially to collectors who understand the impact of high-grade preservation. A perfect or near-perfect coin from this year is almost like a time capsule, untouched by wear, unburdened by scratches, and preserved with unbelievable clarity. And in a world where millions of coins get scuffed within days of production, that kind of survival is rare. Now, let's talk about what pushes the value of a 1988 P Washington quarter into the realm of shocking. Much of it has to do with grading. A coin's grade measures its overall condition on a numerical scale, typically from 1 to 70. The closer a coin gets to that coveted 70, the more dramatically its value increases. Only a handful of 1988 P quarters have ever survived in top-tier condition, with sharp details, bright luster, and almost flawless surfaces. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC rarely encounter such pristine examples from the late 1980s. That scarcity creates intense competition among collectors who want the absolute best of a particular year and mint mark, but grading alone isn't the only driving factor. Eye appeal, the way the coin looks when you first glance at it, is a major component. Coins with strong strikes, smooth surfaces, attractive tones, or unusual luster patterns often bring higher prices. Some 1988 P quarters show exceptional clarity in George Washington's hair details, the eagle's wings, and the delicate lettering around the rim. These features may sound subtle, but to a numismatist, they're like discovering hidden beauty in something most people overlook. Even more intriguing is the small number of error coins from this year that have gained attention. Though 1988 isn't known for widespread quarter errors, the few that exist, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or coins minted on faulty planchets, have added excitement to the pursuit of 1988 P specimens. When error coins combine with high grade, the results can be extraordinary. And auction houses have taken note, with surprising bidding wars erupting over special pieces that would have gone unnoticed by the average person decades ago. but without question, the most unbelievable aspect of this story is the price that one particular 1988 P Washington quarter brought in an auction setting. This is the number that stunned collectors, shocked casual observers, and left many people digging through their old change to see what treasures they might have missed. Auction results can sometimes be unpredictable, especially when multiple collectors are determined to secure a rare gem, but the sale we're talking about here went beyond expectation. It was fueled by condition, rarity, and the escalating demand for top-quality modern coins. Imagine a coin minted in one of the most populous U.S. mint locations, a coin meant for everyday transactions, suddenly rising to a value far beyond what anyone would reasonably predict. Not a coin made of silver or gold. Not a coin from the 1800s. Not a special edition commemorative release. Just an everyday quarter, except preserved in a state that borders on perfection. And because of that perfection, the bidding climbed, and climbed. Collectors weren't just buying a coin. They were buying a symbol of rarity created under circumstances that almost ensured the coin should not exist in such a high grade. They were buying a piece of numismatic history, something that represented the extreme end of collecting passion. They were buying the idea that even modern coins, dismissed by many as too new to be valuable, can still reach the kinds of price levels usually reserved for vintage rarities. The appeal of the 1988 P quarter isn't just about money, though. It also represents a shift in how collectors view more recent coinage. There was a time when people focused mainly on coins from the early 20th century and before. But as the decades pass, even relatively modern coins are becoming nostalgic artifacts. The 1980s are no longer just yesterday, they are history. And coins from that era are being re-evaluated with fresh eyes. Younger collectors who grew up with these coins see them as part of their childhood. Older collectors see them as reminders of a changing America. And all collectors recognize that rare, high-grade coins from any decade can command impressive interest. Now picture yourself encountering one of these coins. You're sifting through an old coin jar, or maybe you find a forgotten roll of quarters in a family drawer. You see the date 1988. At first, it seems ordinary. But then you wonder about its condition. Does it shine more brightly than the others? Does it show crisp details? Could it be an uncirculated specimen? That simple moment of curiosity is the spark that fuels generations of collectors, people who understand that treasures are not always buried in the ground or locked in safes. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight. Stories like the one we're exploring today inspire people to look at coins differently. They remind us that history is everywhere, even in the change rattling around in your pocket. They encourage us to appreciate the artistry and precision that goes into minting U.S. currency. And they show us that with a bit of knowledge, a sharp eye, and a little luck, you might stumble upon something unexpectedly valuable. So what does all this mean for the future of the 1988 P Washington quarter? Well, as more people discover the remarkable story behind the rare high-grade versions, demand continues to grow. Collector interest fuels auction activity, which in turn draws more attention. And as time passes, the number of surviving pristine examples will only grow smaller. Coins get dropped, scratched, mishandled, or lost. But the few that remain untouched become increasingly precious. The remarkable value achieved by that standout 1988 P quarter is not likely to be forgotten anytime soon. It set a precedent, it sparked conversations, and it became a modern legend within the numismatic community. It also proved that even everyday coins can hold extraordinary secrets, secrets waiting patiently for the right person to recognize them.